And we're live.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, Kevin, Mr. Reeves.
Welcome, Jimmy. Always good to hang out and start a Friday with you.
I know. It's really early for you in the snow, and it's starting to get warmer for me, but it's always a good Friday when I see you.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about some cool stuff, but first let's introduce ourselves. My name is Kevin Reeves. I'm a coach. I've been coaching for the last couple of years, and really excited to be sharing this conversation with Jimmy. Jimmy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Jimmy Allen. I'm a love and relationship coach. I typically help men and women overcome issues with vulnerability, commitment issues, and just help them get into a place of wholeness and really be able to have a juicy relationship in all areas of their life. Yeah,
Nice.
so
Awesome.
a good topic today.
Dummies Guide to Excuses. And today we're talking about the integrity trickle-down effect. Wow, that sounds like science.
It does sound like science.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting because you actually brought up this idea when we were talking about topics and what we're going to be discussing today, and this idea of integrity, and really it's starting with yourself. Really not like having or not having integrity toward yourself, living out being a person of your word, being a person of saying what you mean, and then also just treating yourself with integrity. So many times it's like. We were discussing someone yesterday that the situation was that they don't want to do something because if they fail, they'll only be failing on themselves. And it was like, oh my gosh, that when we hold that kind of idea or philosophy, we're really setting ourselves up to start that trickle down effect, because we're saying we are not important. I don't want to hurt anyone else, but if I hurt someone, at least it's just me, and we have that mentality that it's just me. And so it's really interesting. And that kind of starts that whole flow and that whole process.
And that ideally is out of integrity with yourself, like with your truest self, because you're
Mhm.
not meant to, I guess, fail. We do fail, but you're meant to thrive. You're meant to grow. You're meant to achieve. Like wealth is meant for everyone. Love is meant for everyone. And when we don't honor those things, we're definitely out of integrity with the very thing that we say we want for our lives, the very thing we say we want for our relationships. And when we don't get ourselves back into integrity and honor that intention and honor that integrity, that integrous part of ourselves, it becomes like a trickle down effect. Like we can easily spiral down into depression. And basically, what you said, like integrity is doing what you say you're going to do, doing what's expected of you without anyone telling you to do it, and being your word in all areas. And you are going to sometimes stray away from those things. However, it's important to get back on track. It's the
Right.
getting back on track that people fail to do. And also, I realized too that a lot of people don't have a relationship with integrity, and they just like, you know, lackadaisical go through life with like, oh yeah, it doesn't mean anything, but yeah, it does mean something.
Yeah.
It Your integrity affects everything around you, and you may not realize it, and especially in a marriage. Like, you said you're going to have the kids ready by X, Y, and Z in the food, and your wife comes home, then it's like, or your boyfriend, or whatever you choose, that has a trickle down effect. Everybody's impacted by the one thing you did not do or did not communicate with your partner in order to restore everything before everything gets chaotic.
Right. It's almost like we need to put on like our building inspector glasses, and you think about like when you have the integrity of a building, that means that it's sound in its structure and that it's not tipping over. It doesn't have a cracked foundation. It's designed to be a building. It's designed to serve that purpose. And when the integrity is compromised, it's not safe. And it's kind of that same thing with us, where our integrity is about, it really provides that platform and that foundation to how we show up in life and how we conduct ourselves and have relationships and get things done, and people can count on us, and there's a trustworthiness that's about us. And so, that's why I say, kind of having those building inspector goggles, because you're looking for those things like, hey, we all have those things. We all have the thing that shows up from time to time, but it's being able to spot them and go, hey, you know what, that's something that's gonna affect me down the road. And really starting to take, that assessment. We were talking about, some of these areas that our integrity or lack thereof can kind of trickle down into, and it's a whole host of different things where it's like, you've got your career, or Jimmy mentioned your marriage, your relationships, your health, your hobbies, all these different places where we have an opportunity to do what we say. We want to lose weight, or we want to, I want to pick up a hobby. I really want to get into woodworking. I really want to, start this collection, like whatever it is. And then like how you step out into that. And the big one that really hit me on a personal level yesterday, as we were kind of discussing this, was the idea of the things for those of us who have any influence in kids, whether you have your own kids, or whether you're an aunt or an uncle, or you have godchildren or kids that you babysit or whatever. When we have so much that is so easy to pass down onto these future generations, and we think, oh, I just want this situation, like if it goes bad, at least it's just affecting me. And the reality is it's not. The way that we are demonstrating this for our younger, the kids and the generations coming after us are so important. How we respond to things and how we show up and the choices we make. So that was a really poignant one, because man, my kids are like little sponges, just soaking up everything I do, whether it's my phrases that I use, or the sharpness that I respond with, or the laziness that I exhibit, or anything that I do. It's just like, oh, now they're doing it. Crap, like it's really challenging.
Yeah, like when I was getting my certification, my coach, she was very big on integrity, and she would say, be mindful of your clients, and how they show up on the call is how they're going to show up in the world. And also be mindful how you show up on the call, because you are indirectly teaching them how to show up in the world. And also intention, like really set an intention. Like, she said, what is my intention to be in the world for love, for marriage, and all these things? And she would write it out. And I remember writing mine out for love. And I got into this relationship, and I said, okay, this is my intention, and this is my commitment to this for myself, how I'm going to start showing up in this loving, fun, easy going, not going to take anything personal. I want to artsy, all these things, that my new commitment to my higher self to be in this relationship. And I remember being, I guess, sort of a conflict in the relationship. And I kind of like went down, like got depressed, because my partner was like, well, this is too easy. What's going on? Like, no more of this. Like, he just shut down on me. And I had a friend of mine. This is why, we're going back to the friends thing, when we talked about a couple episodes, or when you have people in your life who honors integrity and know what that means in themselves, they can hold you accountable to that, what you're up to in the world. So this friend of mine said, well, why are you taking on his stuff? Like, what is your commitment to love? And I was like, oh shit, right. Like, I had forgot in that moment, and I let someone derail me, and I was like, oh, I had to go back home, read my intention. I was like, okay, this is my commitment. No matter how this person reacts to me, this is my intention. This is my, and I'm gonna be unapologetic about it. And I grew so much from that. And of course, we split up, but I grew so much honoring my own integrity with my intention for love, and I just felt like I expanded, and it really
Right.
just grew me so much. I'm grateful that that happened.
Right. And you were really like, it sounds like you were really putting out more, you were being more, having more integrity in the situation because you were being more yourself. You were
Right,
like really stepping into who Jimmy Allen is, as
right,
opposed to like living this version of yourself that wasn't that authentic. And
right.
the thing that I love what you said was that there's, you know, we talk about integrity and it sounds like this big scary word that's going to get us like either canceled in cancel culture if we do the wrong thing, or, you know, we're not going to win the re-election. You know, like integrity is like this big kind of ugly, like hard to digest word. But you brought in like the intention idea of just being more fun. That's
Right.
something that like for me, that's something that I've specifically really worked on over the years. It's something, you know, came really naturally for me all growing up, high school, college. That was like the thing I thought about all the time. And as I became more of an adult, I realized that kind of got set on the back burner because I started like
Yeah, me too.
worrying about like my bills and my career and where am I going in life and how are we going to do this and all these different things that came up. And like fun was like, well, that'd be nice if I had time for fun. I'll just set that over here for now. And I had to kind of reintegrate it and think about how that like showed up in my life. And even just being more conscious to smile, you know, a lot of feedback I was getting like early on, like my early 20s and stuff was that you're so serious. And it was like, oh gosh, it's like the last person in the world I am, but I'm conveying that with my facial expressions, or I have to like remind myself to smile because my humor style is very sarcastic, deadpan, straight face. I love that. Like it's like my favorite, and I get really excited about that actually. But I have to remember that not all people see humor that way. So I'm like trying to be a lot more like smiley and laughy, and then I can also throw in those like, you know, straight one-liners and stuff, and it's really fun. But just having those intentions, even around something as simple as being fun, really can help you make those steps to really continue to move into who you really want to be.
Right. And I wanted to bring up something too. Like I had interviewed a couple of men, you know, earlier this year. And what comes up for me around this word integrity is that each and every one of them, before they got into a relationship, and they all had these failed relationships, and they talk about these failed relationships. But what was interesting is that in the core of them, a lot of them didn't want to be in a committed relationship. They wanted to be in an open relationship. And what I was saying, and my point is, whatever is your truest intention, that is always going to pull at you. And because they dishonored that intention for the sake of not losing this other person, they ended up like cheating on them. They ended up just like the relationship just fell apart because deep down, that is not what they wanted. They dishonored themselves. And so the relationship itself started to crumble because they were not honoring their truest selves. And one in particular, when he got into this new relationship, he said, I'm going to honor my intention. I want to be in an open relationship. And he was like, this is the happiest I've ever been because I stood my ground. This is what I want. Now I'm in line with what I really want. And I have a partner that's reflecting back to me and what I want. And therefore, this has been the easiest relationship. So when you honor being integrity, what you really want, the deepest part of you, and that person reflects back to you, it'll all work out. But if you dishonor that part of you for the sake of not losing someone, there's going to be a lot of like chaos in that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because as you're talking, to someone just jumping on here, they might see, oh, that sounds really selfish. It's really self-centered. Just be thinking about what you want in a relationship. That doesn't sound very like give and take or like any of that, like what a relationship is. And so, but the thing that we're talking about here is really like who you are in the relationship, like what you want to be in the relationship. It's not just about like all satisfying your needs, all satisfying your wants. You're not giving back. It's not just me, me, me. This is like a shopping spree for myself. This is me deciding, and it's at a deeper level. That's totally beautiful. That's totally noble. It's really like you're gonna go pick out a car, and you're just thinking like what features you want, and you're thinking, cool, like I really want to drive a car that has cargo space because I really want to take lunches to the homeless. Great. That's awesome. Like, but you know that. And so you're going to go out and look for a car that can carry that kind of thing or whatever. And it's the same thing with a relationship. And it's not to be, intended to be crass, like, oh, you're going to pick out a sports car, that kind of thing. But it's really just this idea that you're saying, I want our relationship to be founded on trust, or I want our relationship to have really amazing communication, or I want our relationship to be something that is so fulfilling for me because my partner accepts me 100% for who I am. Whatever those things are that you want in the relationship, you are holding firm to those and not compromising, just saying,
Right.
oh, I'll take whatever because this person's cute, or this I'm just whatever.
Yes.
They're totally wealthy, like I need this money. It's not that. There's a ideal and there's a core value there about who you want to be and who you want to partner with in this. And so that's what we're getting at here.
Right. And both people have this like core values, and you're bringing it together, and you also individually, but you're also creating together a relationship and establishing something together. And I was, when I mentioned to you yesterday about Will Smith, and like one of the things that Will Smith talked about his marriage, he was like, he was telling Jada in the beginning, he said, we're not going to yell at each other. We're not going to call each other names. He's like, that is not what I want to create. That's not the family I want to create. And if anything that's out of that is not going to work, and either you can be with that or not be with that. Right. And he was like, you're not going to take your stuff out on me. You're going to go get help, and I'm going to get help. And we're going to bring our best selves for that. And if you can't do that, then we can't be together. And it may sound selfish, but in the end, they both are bringing their best selves to the relationship, and they're still together.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I was asked this question this last week of, if you went through and kind of broke down the different areas of your life, relationships being one of them, maybe career, health, friends and family, all these different segments that kind of make up our life. If you went through each one and asked yourself the question, what would it look like to the outsider if I was living out this area of my life at a 10 out of 10? If I was bringing it to my relationship, what would that look like? If I was bringing it to my career, if I was bringing it to my parenting, like all these different areas that we have that make up life, what would that look like? What would people, if there's a film crew that's following you around, what kind of actions would they see? What would they notice on your face? What would they capture on camera? And it's a really interesting question to ask because, you think, I have a great marriage. I love my wife. We get along really great. But I thought I'm probably like at an 8. How could I make that a 10? And I just realized there'd be a lot more intentionality in it. There'd be a lot more, I need to be thinking ahead, not just showing up in the moment. There's a lot more, creativity. There's a lot more, just writing little notes to her and doing little things or making little inside jokes. So like a lot of little, like it's like the detail stuff. It's like small, but can make a big difference in the overall feeling of the relationship. And so you think like, what would it look like for you if you were to have a relationship at a 10 versus where you are with your relationship right now? Any of these areas.
Yeah, I love what you're saying as we wrapping up, like asking those questions, like if fear wasn't present in this moment, what would I do? What would I say? Who would I contact? Who would I say hello to? What risk would I take? Would I ask for that raise? How would I ask for that raise? If I wasn't reacting or taking on somebody else's opinions, what would I do? Where would I go? You know what I mean? Like really setting that stuff aside. And like what we said yesterday, making that self-assessment, just
Yeah.
calling it out, taking that fear or whatever it is, moving to the side, and what actions can I put into place in order to be that 10? Like I said, every moment, every day, practice that one could take. And even like what we said before, like we're unconsciously operating in ways that we don't know. So that's why it's important to have a coach on your side to like help you be at that 10. That's the whole, one of the purposes of having a coach in your life is like you're always at a 10. Like what business, life, love, and health. Like they're
Right.
pushing you to that 10. They're showing you the blocks. They're helping you achieve the unachievable with the help
Right.
of someone.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important. So just, whether it's a coach, whether it's a really trusted friend, whether it's yourself, and you're able to kind of step out and like almost get that like removed from body experience where you can like look down on yourself. And I use the analogy a lot of times with my clients of like being in a hot air balloon. If you were like kind of like hovering above your life, like looking down on your life, what would you notice? What would you see differently from kind of looking down and seeing like, what's going on down there? What do I notice about myself? And so I just think it's really important to get that, get that outside perspective, to really start looking at what am I putting out in life that is trickling down into other areas of my life and into other people.
Right. Sorry, Kevin, any last words?
No, I think it's great. I think there's a lot of people that are afraid of this. I think fear comes up a lot, but I think it's a really kind of entry level step to start looking at yourself. It's just to start. It's like we don't want to look at we don't want to go to the dentist because we're worried about all the work we have. We don't want to open our checking account because we're worried about what the balance is going to be. There's some of these things that we just kind of avoid, and this is like the one that's kind of at the center of it all. And so that'd be my encouragement for anybody out there. Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
a combination of really up-leveling all areas of your life. So feel free to leave comments in the comment section down below and reach out to one of us if you have any questions or need any help. It was a pleasure always every Friday to be with you and to be with you, Kevin.
You too.
All right, man. Have a great Friday.